Hi, I'm Daniela. I'm with Justin Brown. He's 21 years old. His journey with psychedelics started when he was 19 years old. So I just wanted to ask you, when was your first experience with psychedelics and what was that like?
The first time I ever took psychedelics was 2017 in May. I took 4 tabs of acid because I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know how much to actually take. And it was terrifying. I was stuck in a time loop for 2.5 hours doing the same thing over and over and over.
What were you doing?
I would light a cigarette, then I'd go inside, plug in my phone, unplug my phone, go back outside, and then I would send a Snapchat to my neighbor who I was trying to date, Quinn. And I'd be like, I think me and my friends took acid, but I think that they're pretending that we didn't take acid. And then I'd finish my cigarette, flick it, and then I'd start back. And I did that for 2.5 hours.
Oh wow, that's so weird.
Yeah, I smoked 17 different cigarettes, sent 17 different Snapchats to my neighbor.
So you were doing it like in real life, or was it just like your imagination?
I was actually doing that. Like my neighbor asked me, like was freaking out and asked me if I was okay because I sent her 17 of the same thing.
Yeah. That's weird. So what are some of the psychedelic drugs you've tried and which ones have like made the biggest impact?
I've tried psilocybin mushrooms, LSD, acid, DMT, changa, 2CB. Yeah, those are the psychedelics that I've done, and then the biggest impact I would say would be either changa or DMT.
DMT.
Yeah.
Okay. What are some of your favorites?
Favorites would be, it depends, because acid lasts 12 hours, and like that would be my favorite if it didn't last so long.
Yeah.
But I would say probably DMT. Because DMT in real time it only lasts 10 minutes, but in your head it feels
longer.
Like so much longer. Yeah.
How much longer?
When you break through, like when I broke through, it was like 8-9 years.
So like.
But
wow.
if you don't break through, then it feels like maybe like 2 hours, but it's only like 10 minutes.
Were you ever like afraid of taking them at first?
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
After that first experience that I ever had, where I took too much and I was in that time loop, I was terrified to ever try them again. But I like had to talk myself into it because the first time was so bad.
How did you like deal with it? Like the second time, do you want to take it if you were scared? How did you like talk to yourself?
I just remembered how good it was at the beginning of the first time I ever took it, because the beginning was great. It wasn't until the people that I was with started messing with me that it went bad. But at the beginning I was really enjoying myself, and I just remembered that. And I was with good people the second time I ever tried it, and it was a totally different experience.
So it was safer.
Yeah.
So what is like the reason behind why you decided to take psychedelics?
I started taking them regularly, like, because the first time was just on a whim. My friend was like, here's some acid, and I was like, okay, sure, I'll take it. And I didn't know anything about it. But then after that, I started reading into it more. I read a book by Terrence McKenna, read about like the way that they've used it in treatment and stuff like that, and I really wanted to get into that side of it, like, because I was suffering with like depression and PTSD at the time, and I saw that there were some people that were able to help themselves with it.
Okay, are they like the same reasons where you take them now, or have they changed?
I've kind of gotten past that point of like being depressed, or I've gotten pretty much past my PTSD, so I wouldn't say that's the reason I still take them. But I still take them to kind of like figure things out in my life. Like if I'm really stressed out about something, then I'll take it and help try and figure it out.
Okay, so what was like your best experience, and which was the drug that you were taking?
My best experience would probably be the first time I ever broke through on DMT. Because I had never done DMT before. I just wanted to go straight in and go through a breakthrough, because I'd read so much about it, and when you break through, you're in this entirely different world, and you meet these deities that teach you things, and it's really interesting. So
what did you see?
So when you smoke it until you pass out. So you're asleep for your trip. So I smoked it. It took like 3 hits for me to pass out, and then when I woke up, because I was still asleep, but when my mind was feeling like it woke up, I was in this casino that was made out of these red dice, and there were. Have you ever seen the movie Gremlins?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so in Gremlins, there's these creature things that look like goblins, kind of.
Are they the little ones?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, and there were a bunch of, like, these creatures that looked like gremlins that are made out of red dice. Oh. And they were, like, really happy to see me, and they were like, you made it, like, we have so much to show you. And they took me throughout the hotel, and every door they opened showed me a different part of my life, like my past, my present, my future. So, like, they showed me growing up as a kid. They showed, like, choices I made then. Then they just closed that door, and then they showed me and my roommate at the time with our dogs at home, laughing, having a good time, and showed me that I was in a good place. And then they showed me my future. They showed me finally going back to school, graduating, getting a new job, moving to Oregon, meeting a girl, getting married. Yeah, no, they showed me so much. Like, they showed me that, like, it helped because it showed the potential that I have. Because at the time I wasn't going to school, and I kind of felt like I wasn't going anywhere in life. Yeah. But because of that, it showed me that, like, if I went back to school, I would be able to, graduate and be successful and, live the life that I want to. Really comforting.
That's good. What was your worst experience then?
Worst experience? Yeah. Worst experience would probably be when I went through ego death over the summer when I first started taking psychs. Ego death is like where your brain forgets everything about yourself. Like, you don't know who you are, you don't know what you are, you don't know how you feel about yourself, you don't know how you feel about the people around you. Everything's empty, and you have to figure that out. And it was terrifying, because I was living with about, like, 20 people at the time at a fraternity house, and we all decided to take acid one day. And it was like, I think like 12 of us total took acid that day. And I was sitting on the balcony, and then I saw a bunch of kids on the sidewalk, and I freaked out because I didn't want them to see me tripping. And then all of a sudden, it was 4 hours later, and I was like passed out on the couch, coming out of it. And I didn't know anything about myself. I didn't know where I was. I didn't know who the people around me were. And I had to figure that out. Like, I had to teach myself everything.
Was it just in your mind, or were you actually, like...
Well, yeah, I mean, it was...
Okay, yeah.
Like, I was actually, like, passed out on the couch, and I woke up, and I didn't know anything. Like, you can ask my friends. Like, they all talk about it all the time, how I woke up, and I didn't know who any of them were, and I didn't know who I was.
How did you feel after that? Like, after finding out?
It helped because I had to go through my memories and, like, decide how I felt about every person I'd ever met. So, like, I went through all my family, and I had to decide, like, how I felt about each person in my family. And then I went through all of my friends and everything that they've ever done and everything that they've ever said. and decide how I felt about them. So like after that, I stopped talking to probably like 6 people because I realized at the time that like
They weren't good people.
They weren't good people.
I'm gonna have to cut that. So what do psychedelics do to your body and mind while taking them?
Depends on the psychedelics. Like mushrooms are a lot more personal. Like you're you think about your own life, like you think about the decisions that you've made about yourself as a person, and you can't really move much because they're like really body heavy.
Mm-hmm.
But like acid helps you like see the world around you and make connections that you normally wouldn't. Like you like when I'm tripping on acid and I look at the life, like trees and animals and things like that, I see how they're all connected. But when I'm on shrooms, I see how I connect to it.
To everything?
Yeah. So like, and with acid, I can go for a bike ride and I have so much energy, whereas shrooms, I just kind of like want to lay down. Yeah. And then DMT, you're asleep. So
yeah.
But Changa's DMT mixed with an MAOI, and that you don't pass out and it lasts twice as long. And with that, you feel super happy. It just all of a sudden when you smoke it, your brain just like shoots a bunch of serotonin out and you're insanely happy and everything around you looks cartoonish.
Oh.
Like in my case, everything always looks like it's animated, like in the style of Futurama. But one of my friends, he says that it looks a lot more like a painting.
So it's like different.
Yeah.
How do you feel after taking them?
Again, depends on which one. Because shrooms, I'll feel exhausted for like the next day. Like I won't want to get out of bed. Like I'll just want to sleep for the next day. Like I'll be super tired. But acid or DMT or Changa, for instance, those I've like after I'm done tripping, I have so much energy and like I'm in that afterglow stage where like everything still looks a little bit brighter and I'm happier and have more energy, but I'm not still tripping.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
How do psychedelic drugs help you in your life?
Really, the biggest help was with PTSD because my freshman year up here, I was about 10 feet away from the shooting on campus, and I saw what happened. I saw not my friends, but my brother's friends get shot. One of them passed away, and I dealt with that for a while, and I blamed myself for not doing anything, and I couldn't, like, it affected my sleep. That's the reason I wasn't going to school for a bit. Like, I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat, I couldn't function, I didn't want to talk to people. Like, I was depressed because I blamed myself for calling dying. And when I first tripped and thought about that kind of stuff, I was able to like look at it from different angles, like think about it in ways that I normally wouldn't have, and it helped a lot because I realized that like there's nothing that I could have done, and it helped me see it from like his family's perspective, how, you know, they don't blame me, and it helped me cope with that kind of stuff. And there was one time where I took 7 grams of mushrooms all alone at my apartment because I wanted to figure that stuff out, and I was stuck in this loop. Like, I was in my room and I kept thinking about that time and thinking about, you know, what I did and all that stuff, and it was terrifying at the time. But towards the end of it, once I like had gone through it so many times and seen it from so many different angles, I didn't feel the same way about it. I didn't feel like I was to blame. It was like a lot easier for me to cope with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so it helps you just kind of figure things out.
Yeah, it helps you think about things in ways that you normally wouldn't and make connections that you normally wouldn't. Yeah.
So how do psychedelic drugs change your perspective of like the world? How you view it before and how now?
So like before I wasn't religious in any way. Like I didn't think that there was like anything out there. But after DMT, after acid, I've seen connections between things in my head at least that make it easier for me to believe in that kind of stuff. Like easier for me to be a little bit more spiritual. Not necessarily like in Christianity or Buddhism or any specific religion.
Just helps you believe in something out there.
Yeah, it just helps me think that there is some sort of higher power, because I don't know, it
just makes sense to
Yeah.
you. Yeah, it makes sense to me a lot more, yeah. So you said that you have PTSD, so how did it help you deal with PTSD and like anxiety and all of those?
Yeah, so like I was saying, like it helped me think about it in different lights, and as far as like feeling negative about it while I'm talking to people about it, because when I first like tripped with one of my friends that knew about that kind of stuff, he knew that was the reason that I wanted to start taking them, so he would talk to me about that kind of stuff and like make me talk to him about what happened, how I felt about it, and all that kind of stuff while I was tripping with him. And since your brain is like so distracted with everything else that's going on, it's a lot easier to talk about while you're tripping, because everything's moving, you're distracted, and then your brain's just full of serotonin, so it's like hard for you to feel negative about it, as long as like it's controlled. So like my friend wouldn't like get into too much detail about everything, but he would like help me get through it. And then whenever I'm like going through another like a PTSD episode since then, or having an anxiety attack or something like that, I just kind of like think about like the times where I've thought about it while I'm tripping, and think about how the connections that I made during that time, and like it helps me ease out of it a lot better. Okay,
so you said that like you feel guilty about your friend passing away when I had kind of a similar experience with how I felt my friend passed away. She committed suicide, and I blame myself a lot for it, and I went to therapy for it. And she kind of gave me the same explanation that you had with psychedelics, that it wasn't my fault and that she wouldn't blame me, just like he wouldn't blame me and his family wouldn't blame you. Do you think psychedelic drugs can help you more than therapy? Or
I'd say it depends on the person, because like before I got into it, I did a lot of reading. I read everything that Terrence McKenna ever published. Him and his brother, I watched interviews. I got into how they would use them and how they would think about stuff and stuff like that. But if your average person is just suffering from that kind of stuff and just takes it and doesn't look into what to do and things like that, then I don't think it would be really beneficial. I think it could make it worse. So I say you have to be careful with that kind of stuff, but I think if done properly, it could definitely make a huge difference with anyone.
Do you think it can be faster than therapy?
Yeah. Because I went to see counselors and therapists for the first 2 years, and it didn't do anything. I didn't feel any different. I still blamed myself just as much as I did from the beginning. But within 6 months after I started taking psychedelics, I was way happier. I didn't blame myself for anything. I was able to live.
Do you plan on taking them for the rest of your life, or just until they help you with your problems? Because you say you don't suffer as much from PTSD and depression, is it?
Yeah, I'd say I'd probably take them every now and then for the rest of my life. I'm not gonna, trip every week.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do that when I'm like 40. I don't even do that now. The last time I tripped was months ago. But yeah, I could definitely see myself doing them for years to come. Just because I don't know, there's always something to learn, I feel like. Yeah.
And to the people who have mental illnesses, what would you recommend? Would you recommend psychedelic drugs, or?
I'd say I definitely would recommend looking into them, and obviously do your research. Don't just jump right into it, because, like I said before, if someone is suffering from depression and they know nothing about these drugs and they take 6 tabs of acid, it's not going to be great. It's going to probably make them feel worse than they did before. But yeah, there's other ways to do it too. You don't necessarily have to full on trip. I'd say something to look into more for most people would be microdosing, taking a small amount every few days, and it helps you make the same connections but not as intense. Yeah.
Thank you.